but uh, but uh, uh, but it eventually made our program. So that was the first time I played Nebraska. So we came up in '80, and I'm sure we were under. I know they. I think they were three in the nation, and we were underdogs. We might have been 10th, 11th, and we won the. We kicked 4 field goals, and they were on our 3-yard line at the end of the game, fixing to win the game like they always do, and they fumbled the football. If they hadn't fumbled, they'd beat us, and we recovered it and ran the clock out. But that's the first thing I remember. But the thing I remember most about that game was how good the people were. When we ran off the field, nobody spit on us. You know, they congratulated us. I'm not used to that. You know, I'm used to running off the field down there and people throwing stuff at you and all that stuff. But I did notice how good the people were in Nebraska, and and every time we played up here the same way, when they won or when we won, and so I have always, anytime I have been invited to come back to Nebraska and speak, or for Tom, I'm coming. You know, if I've got my calendar clear, I'm never turn it down.
Did you write a letter after that game?
I sure did. Wrote it to the paper, I guess, telling them how great the people were, and it went national. You know, everybody in Tallahassee found out knew about it. And we had a lot of people that came up to that game.
Was it enough? Was that just experience so much for you that you just felt compelled to write a letter? Or was that something you did often?
No, that's the only one I remember right. It was so different. I've been asked many times, what is the biggest game in my career? I've always said that game. That put us on the map. Back in those days, you didn't beat Nebraska at Nebraska. That hadn't been true lately. But back in those days, you didn't beat them there. You know what? So it put us on the map. People said, who in the world is Florida State? We were not anybody.
Coach, have you spent any time yet with Willie Taggart in Tallahassee?
I haven't spent any time with him. I've talked to him several times on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm supposed to call him when I get back tomorrow, and I might do that.
Okay.
But I'll do anything I can to help him.
Do you expect to be around more than you have been in recent years?
I don't want to be.
You don't want to
No, no. I'm too old. I mean, you know, I'd rather watch it on television than to get into my car and drive and try to find a parking place, then get up there in the stands and won't nobody let you watch the ball game. You know, then get out, then can't get out of the dead gum parking lot. I'd rather stay home and watch it on TV.
Sure, you get somebody to
I won't
drive
change that. Well, yeah, I get somebody to drive me, but I really enjoy watching it on television. Refrigerator ain't about as far behind that wall.
That's kind of been your way of doing things for most of the time since you retired.
Yeah, when I left Florida State, Jimbo, I recognized to our staff at the last game, here's your new football coach, you know. And so the day I left and moved out of that office, I went by Jimbo's office and said, Jimbo, I'm not coming back. I'm not going to be around here. I know what would happen if I hung around there. Every time he made a mistake, they'd be comparing him and saying, why don't you do it like this? Because I've been through that on the other end.
Yeah.
I didn't want him to go through it.
But you like Willie. You seem to and what you know of him and the time that you visited with him, you feel like that's a good move.
I believe it is. I believe it is. You know, all you got to do is watch trends.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch trends, you know, he was raised in Florida. He loved Florida State. He used to see my television show every Sunday. He said, I'll watch the Bobby Bowden show every Sunday. You know, that's the way kids are.
Mm-hmm.
I was the same way with Bear Bryant.
Yeah.
I'd watch his show every Sunday, you know. And so he wanted to be there. That was one of the big things. I think Jimbo was ready to leave.
What do you think of Lane Kiffin?
I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think. And it's very interesting. He was not successful in other places, but he was super successful there. Now
At FAU.
Yeah, FAU. What you got to realize, he's coaching somebody else's boys.
Mm-hmm.
See, Coach Central Florida. He was coaching his boys. He recruited them, you know.
Sure.
So maybe Lane is over the hump. Maybe he's grown up. That's the only way I can. Maybe.
He's got quite the personality. He seems to have quite the personality.
He's got a great personality. He knows how to get attention, and he mixes good with people, and he might be a great one. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at his past, you're not sure.
Right.
But what he did last year was really magnificent.
You know his dad well? You know Monty?
You know, I met him when we were down. I had kept up with him because he used to coach the Bucks down there, and I met him when my son coached at Akron. He played them in the bowl and got killed. But I met his dad and talked to him.
Another question about the championship game on Monday night. You mentioned the quarterback play for Alabama. They brought a freshman off the bench, of course, in the second half, and he led them to 26 points in the win. In your time as a coach, was there ever a freshman that you recall who was capable of doing something like that, or have things changed with the readiness that these kids come in with?
You know, we did have a situation like that. My first year at Florida State, that was our losing. It was the only losing year we had. We went 5-6, but that was that'd have made me mayor then. If I'd have run with that, you know, could have been 1 and 2. And so my first year, we had a quarterback named Jimmy Black who was a senior. He was an option quarterback. I ran the option back in those days, and he did. But then he would go through. Then I had another freshman, Jimmy Jordan, who was he broke every passing record in the state of Florida, and he was a freshman. And I would insert him in the game at times, you know, and he could really fire the ball, and so I did interchange occasionally, you know, but it was not. I've forgotten whether it was where I had a plan to do that or whether it was because Jimmy was ineffective, or it could have been we just needed a pass. Because Jimmy was a great drop back passer, and our other quarterback had to run and throw to complete it. So I did that for 3 years. Because I had another quarterback, both of them from the same high school, both of them great passers, and the next 3 years when they played together, because one of them had redshirted, so he was a sophomore with Jimmy. Then that year, I would play one long we win. I'd leave with him. But if we started losing or he had problems, I'd put the other one in. We did that for 3 years. We got a lot of publicity out of it. One of them was Jimmy Jordan, the other was Wally Woodham, and they called him Jimmy Woodham.
Okay.
It's one quarterback.
As that game came down the line this week, you had true freshmen on both sides who were leading their teams.
Yeah.
You feel like that's an anomaly, like maybe not representative of the ability of true freshmen around the country, or are these guys coming in a lot more ready to play now than they've ever been?
I think that is true. They are more exposed to playing, and some of them are more mature and ready. And but it is seldom. I'm sure coaches rather have a veteran. They'd rather have, you know. Well, those two kids are talented.
You surprised to see Nick do that? Change quarterbacks in the middle of a game like that with so much on the line?
No, not surprised. I wouldn't have. I didn't know what he had. I didn't know other kids that good.
Right.
You know, but knowing what he knew, he might have known that he. Well, he probably knew he wasn't going to beat Georgia running the doggone football. He's going to have to throw it, you know. So he might have just said, I might as well put this kid in. Because the kid threw, I think, about 4 or 5 first time ball game they did, man. Wow, he amazed at me. Now what'll happen now? Everybody will study that film. They'll know how to play him next year. He won't surprise anybody, you know. But he still might tear him up.
If he's the starter. If he's the starter.
If he's the starter, that's right. So they'll have that competition this spring. That's something.